One cold February day, a snail started climbing an apple tree. And as he inched his way slowly upward, a worm stuck his head from a crevice in the tree to offer some advice. You're wasting your time. There isn't a single apple up there. The snail kept up his slow climb. There will be when I get up there. Oh, gosh. So Dave sent us some jokes. These are probably better than that one. So I pulled a couple of his jokes today from the kiosk at the Indian Hills Community Center. It reads, when you teach a wolf to meditate, he becomes a werewolf. So then the last one here. A pessimist sees a dark tunnel. An optimist sees a light at the end of the tunnel. A realist sees a freight train. The train driver sees 3 idiots standing on the tracks. So my question this morning to you is, are you the pessimist, the optimist, the realist, or the idiot? Actually, I think we're all 3 or 4, actually, for the pessimist, the optimist, the realist, and the idiots. So I know I'll just speak for myself. And then I would like to put out there for this morning, it's actually the title of the talk, this question. Do you know how beautiful you are? Nothing to do with your body, your face, even your personality, your soul beauty. When I was a young woman out on my own for the first time, living in the big city of Baltimore by myself, my parents were attending a Unity church called the Church of Today in Michigan. And Jack Boland was the minister there. And he did a talk where he essentially said, asked, do you know how beautiful you are? And then he went on to describe just how beautiful each one of us are. And my dad recorded that in his own voice and sent it to me. And so on my morning commute into Baltimore City every morning to work in a school that was surrounded by boarded up homes, and it was sort of my boost to get me started to work with these precious kids in the city. 35 years later, I've come a long way in understanding my beauty, but I am still awakening to that soul beauty. So I'm wondering, how about you? I had a revelation the other day. I woke up to the realization that I still often live my life based on what I think others expect of me. And the place where that is really where there's a lot of sort of growing, room for growth, is my role as a minister. And nobody ever really said, this is what a Unity minister looks like. or acts like. Thank goodness, because you know I'd have been being that person. But there has been a lot of consciousness placed into and a lot of energy around what a minister, just in general, or pastor, what that person does and says. And so I find myself living from who I am, but with this constant sense of this questioning. Now, would a minister do that? And will the people that are part of the spiritual community, will they accept that? Is that something that they will love and accept about me? So I actually try my darndest to be perfect. And you know as well as I know that that's not possible. But darned if I don't try. So someone has said, actually, I think it was Adyashanti, but I'm sure that other spiritual masters would agree that the path to enlightenment is a very destructive process. And we'll take that just a step down to just the process of awakening is a destructive process. And what I'm realizing is that's not necessarily destructive in form. It's what we need to destroy in consciousness, what we need to be able to break through in consciousness. So this morning, I'm inviting you to go with me on a magical mystery tour through our BS. Does anybody know what BS stands for? I know some of you have heard this so many times, but it's still good. It stands for our belief system. So the magical mystery tour is coming to take you away. It's the Beatles coming to take you away. So minister, that's a role that we have created in our minds, expectations about what that person does and says. And then how about when I say woman? What comes to mind? Barry visited this, certainly the history of and the power of women. And yet when we bring that history into today, we find that there's a dissonance there. And so women are still trying to break through that BS, that of the role of women, and take that even a step further. And then you have wife. What does wife? What does the role of wife mean? What is our belief system that we have built up and established? And I don't want to leave out the men. So what about man and husband, or just spouse and parent, and et cetera, et cetera? So what I'd like you to do, and why I invited you to bring a few pieces of paper and a pen or a pencil today, is that I would like for us to actually take a moment in meditation and to bring to mind the roles that you play in your life, the roles that are of the utmost importance to you. Bring them to mind. And if it helps you to sort of get in a meditative state, to close your eyes, maybe to breathe, take a few deep breaths, to relax, and ask your higher self, what are those most important roles? Which is the most important to you? And the answer doesn't have to be a spiritual one here. We're actually getting ready to do a little bit of work. And so let's be honest. Which one do we give the most attention to? And then ask the question, what do I expect of myself in this role? And just sit and listen. If some things come to mind, I invite you to write them down. And remember, we're not writing what is the politically correct or the spiritually correct answers. We are asking, what is it that I expect of me in this role? And then we might ask, whose expectations are these really? Where did they come from? Are they healthy for me? Do they nurture me and others? Are they supportive of my process of unfolding my divine potential? Take a deep breath. And you may find that you want to come back to this at some point. And I'm going to also invite you to ask the question, are these expectations, are they chains that bind me in any way? Are they putting limitations on the full expression of who it is to be me in every aspect? But we're just looking at the one now. Yay, when we finish this one, we get to move on to the next one. Not this morning, but I'm inviting you to that. Because all the affirmations we use are just words until we ask ourselves, what are the chains that bind me? In consciousness, okay? Obviously, we're talking about what are the belief systems that hold me back? All the positive thinking is powerless unless I look at the beliefs that I hold about myself. We could even say little is gained in our efforts to awaken or towards enlightenment until we realize, no, I'm not wrong. My thinking may be wrong, but I'm not wrong. So, as the gurus say, don't be mistaken, this process is a very destructive process, but we're not needing to watch our worlds crumble around us. We're only needing to break through or to deconstruct belief systems that aren't working for us. So it's all work in consciousness, loving work in consciousness. And I know that I find that when I do some work like this, I often need to step away for a good long while after doing it. So it's a being gentle with ourselves process. And remember, you've heard the quote by Leonard Cohen from Anthem. Ring the bells that still can ring, forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. In The Disappearance of the Universe, Gary Renard talks about beginning to have experiences where there seems to be a crack in this dimension of his experience. At times there is a light that seems to want to shine through. Kind of like, how many of you have seen the movies, the Matrix trilogy? And there's two worlds. And I like to think that the world beyond this dimension is a lot lighter and brighter than the one that was in the movie. But there is that experience, that human experience of wanting, desiring, and never being settled until we can break through to that greater expression of our divine nature. And Sophia mentioned last week one of my favorite Bible scriptures. She said, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that's what this process is, of looking at and deconstructing our beliefs about ourselves and who we should be in the world. Certainly some of that is good, and that's what this process helps us to discover. When Barry and I first came to Unity of the Mojave Valley as the leaders, I was a licensed Unity teacher at the time, and he was an ordained minister, and I was doing the platforming and he was doing the talks. And some of you here remember those days, many, many, many years ago. And I had people actually telling me at the time what I should wear. No, I don't mean, I wasn't paying for a stylist. I actually had people from the ministry coming to me and telling me not to wear that and not to wear my hair that way. Never, ever again wear my hair that way. And some coming to me and asking me if I kept Barry's schedule. So you can see where their belief systems were impacting them in terms of their relationship with me. And I was working real hard not to allow it to impact my relationship with them. But you can see where that work that we're doing comes from then, because people have told us what we should look like and how we should act, what we should do, and what we should say. And in particular in these roles. And while I feel empowered to create as a woman and as a wife and as a mother of animals and as a daughter, that the domain of minister, the title of minister is the sort of public domain, if you know what I mean. So I'm curious. I would love to know I would invite you, and Barry and I would love to hear from you if you were to use this practice of going through and asking, what is it that I believe about what a minister is, acts, how a minister acts, what they do, what my expectations are. That's it. What are my expectations of minister? Because as we're really going into a new era for Unity Spiritual Center of the Mojave Valley, we are taking a huge evolutionary leap in our togetherness as we leave the space where we have been for, Barry and I have only been here for 14 of those years, but 20 plus years. Some of you have been showing up at the Shrine building Sunday after Sunday after Sunday. And thank you for still being here. Oh my gosh, we love you so much. So appreciate you. Gosh, I could go on and on and on about that, but I will say that I will say thank you for accepting us as we have grown and continue to grow into these roles as ministers, whatever that means to you. If you're so inclined, I'll put an envelope on the table, the welcome table there on Sunday morning next week that says minister on it. And you can anonymously put your comments in there. You don't have to put your name on it or anything, but we would love to hear, because here I'm ready for my mind, but I will tell you, I have to live from the expectations that I create, not the ones that I think someone else thinks, because I find that as that becomes a chain that binds me. And I'm saying this just as my own experience, but we all have that experience in one role or another that we play. Thank you. I see a couple comments here in the chat. Thank you. Yes. I'm going to share screen here. I thought I was going to. Let me try this again. There we go. Hafiz, a 14th century Persian lyric poet, wrote this poem. Do you know how beautiful you are? I'm going to share it with you. Do you know how beautiful you are? I think not, my dear. For as you talk of God, I see great parades with wildly colorful bands streaming from your mind and heart, carrying wonderful and secret messages to every corner of this world. I see saints bowing in the mountains hundreds of miles away to the wonder of sounds that break into light from your most common words. Speak to me of your mother, your cousins, and your friends. Tell me of squirrels and birds you know. Awaken your legion of nightingales. Let them soar wild and free in the sky. And begin to sing to God. Let's all begin to sing to God. Do you know how beautiful you are? I think not, my dear. Yet I could set you upon a stage and worship you forever. And so it is. Let's have a period of meditation to bring our message home this morning in whatever way is healthy and helpful for you. And so we just once again take a deep breath, a breath that invites the body to relax, noting where there may be tension or something that you're holding on to. Taking a deep breath to bring the mind into a focus on the breath, or maybe you prefer bringing attention to your feet, where your feet are touching the floor, just feeling what that feels like to be centered and grounded there. And asking the question, do I know how beautiful I am? Am I aware of the chains that bind me, that are simply belief systems that need to come crashing down? Are there roles that I play that don't make me feel the best about myself? Are there roles that I play where I feel inhibited or limited? And as I begin to see those chains, I can know and affirm that I break these chains that bind me. I am free and unlimited. I am now guided by my divine guidance, my inner being, my higher self, in the roles I play, and in particular those that I give most attention to. I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. I am free. And I know at times we do need to do a little dance. We do need to sort of do our thing while still honoring and respecting some of the expectations that others have. And maybe we can negotiate those expectations. Heart-centered negotiation, a focus on our needs and sharing our needs and listening to the other's needs. So that we both go forth greater, wholer beings, that our relationship is strengthened, that our relationship is even better than it was before. And then once again, just coming back to the remembering of that source that is underlying all situations, all experiences, the force for good, where we can, from that space, always say that all is well. All is truly well. And so it is.